Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Dr. Yvonne YouTube interview with Ms. Mechelle Hood, who is a world-renowned or, country-renowned advocate for vitiligo. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? And thank you for having me.
Well, it is a great pleasure to have you. I have had the pleasure to listen to you speak before, and I'd like you to tell my audience a little bit about you and a little bit about your journey.
Well, first, I'm Mechelle Hood. I'm the mother of 4 children. Uh, I have vitiligo. It came later on in life. Um, I thought I was living a prominent life, no issues. I had no idea what would entail coming down the road. So to make a speed up a little bit, thought everything was fine. Um, I've had vitiligo now a little over 20 years. It started with a small dot on the side of my left temple, and I didn't know what it was. My doctor, my general practitioner told me to go to a dermatologist.
Mhm.
And when I went to the dermatologist, um, they told me I had vitiligo. I didn't know anything about vitiligo. I didn't know. I thought it was a disease. I didn't know what it was because I had never heard of it. Didn't know anything about it. And when I was diagnosed, um, one doctor came in and then he came back with like 6 or 7 doctors. So I thought I had something terminal.
Mhm.
They told me again, which I just said, that you have vitiligo. I didn't know what that was. And I asked them, what was it? Could I die from it? What is it? And they told me that it was a skin disorder, that I would either lose pigmentation or it could stay stagnant. And that's all they knew. At the time when I was diagnosed with vitiligo, it wasn't a lot of dermatologists that knew anything about vitiligo. So they were still experimenting. So it wasn't much that they can tell me that if it was curable, because they knew nothing. So within that time, I transitioned more. I started losing my pigment, not knowing that stress was the biggest issue.
Oh.
2003 was when it really started. I think it started internally, because I remember my doctor, when they check your ears, he was saying, you need to stop scratching your ears. You're making your ears raw. And I said, no, they don't hurt or anything, but I would itch. And that's one of the signs of losing pigment. You start to itch. Uh, so later, he just thought that I was just irritating my ears. But when I look back, that's where it started, down within my eardrum, and then it protruded out to my temple. Uh, Vitiligo and lupus are like one in, they're connected because of the T cells. Just one hits your organs, the other one hits the biggest organ, which is our skin, correct?
Right.
So my body, which all of our bodies are machines, but my body thinks, I'm sorry, it thinks that whatever my deficiency is in my body, that it's bad bacteria. So it's trying to eliminate it.
Oh, it fights
And
it
that,
off.
yeah.
It
And
attacks
that,
it. Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's attacking the cells that creates my melanin, thinking that it's something bad happening to me because it's a deficiency somewhere in my body,
Yeah.
but it can't detect it. So it's thinking those cells that creates my melanin, and it's attacking it. So that's why I'm steady losing pigment.
Mhm.
So because of that, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me a question. So not knowing that, and in 2003, my mother passed. And when my mother passed, that took a lot on me, because I'm the oldest sibling, and I had a lot to deal with my mother. Also that year, my sister was going to get married, and my mother was taking on that responsibility to see that my sister got married.
Mm.
So all of those things I took on. And so my mother passed. I made sure that my sister had her wedding, and then I got married. So I had all three of these things happening within this year. And that's when I started to see more pigment disappear. And I didn't understand. I didn't know why. Then they wanted to start to do treatment down at the medical center. They wanted me to do the rheolite because they were saying that somewhere within us, even though our pigmentation is losing and we have a deficiency in our body, if we can give our bodies the sun, vitamin D. So they would have me taking all of these vitamins, but they didn't know because everybody's immune system is different.
Mhm.
So what might work for me might not work for you. So
Right.
they have to just try a lot of things across the board to see what could really work.
Can you tell us what a rail light is? Because I honestly, I don't know what that is, and I'm sure that our audience would probably like to know.
Okay, it's where it's not exactly as hot as the sun,
Mhm.
but it's where you would walk into a booth
Mhm.
and they would notch it up a certain degrees so you wouldn't burn. But some
Okay.
people are so sensitive to light to just that little bit would make them burn. So they had to find the degree that can kind of work with you where they're feeding your body, almost like I'm saying, like the vitamin D, you
Right.
know, something that you would need to help or to kind of give a little ignition to your cells to see if that would help to produce what it needs so you wouldn't lose more pigment. But
So,
for me, it didn't work because mine started getting bigger.
yeah,
And I was like, I'm trying to diminish it, not to make it grow.
right.
So I didn't continue the process. I was there, I did it. I had to go 3 times a week, and I did it for like 30 days or more. But it seemed like it was bringing my vitiligo out more. And
Wow.
I didn't, so I stopped. So I never went back.
What was the hardest part of, being so young? Because this means that you were quite young when all of this started, and it obviously was before your marriage, because you said you got married, after it all started or at the same time.
Mhm.
What was that like, trying to explain it, like to your children, or because they grew up seeing you like that, though? I mean, was it something that they had to assimilate with, or how did you handle it as a mom and being out there?
You know what? To be honest, that's where, and that you say that because I'm on the board with my vitiligo group. When it comes to our family, they would never say anything, nothing. And I questioned my mom, and I was like, am I really your daughter? I mean, because, and she would say, girl, don't let me haul off and hit you, you know. And I was like, but no one is saying anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it then, but I get it now. And my
Well, what,
mother, and
why?
that's
Why
what
do you
my
think that
deliverance,
is?
because she said, we know who you are. It didn't matter what I looked like. And I kept
Wow.
saying, but y'all see this. But my mother said that then, but I didn't get it. But that's my deliverance of what I deliver. Don't look at a person's cover, know their pages. So my mom knew who I was. It didn't matter how I looked. And
Mhm.
even my children, they never said anything, nothing. And I was like, why won't y'all say something? But it was the outside entities that I had to deal with. And I didn't accept it myself, Dr. Yvonne. So that was the biggest struggle because I didn't accept me. I didn't accept the disease. But once I did that,
Mhm.
it didn't bother me anymore.
How did
I
you
had,
come to accept it? What was the process that you went through Because we all go through different things in our lives, and we call it testimony, right? Because it helps another person. But
Mhm.
how did you reconcile what you were going through at the time you were going through it, combined with everything else that was piled on top of you? How did you begin to say, well, I accept me for who I am, and I want
It
to
took
do
10
something about
years.
it?
It took me 10 years. I would cry myself to sleep. And that's why I say, when I speak, smiling faces can tell lies,
Right?
because I could smile at work. I never wore makeup. My makeup was a Vaseline. That was the most I would put on lipstick, you
Yeah.
know, but that was it. I never wore makeup or anything, you know? And so when I had to cry, when I started to spread even more and I was blotched, I had the raccoon phase
Wow.
where I had the circled eyes and around my mouth. And then I was just blotched everywhere in big splotches, and I prayed that, Lord, if this is happening to me, let it happen on places where I can hide. But the Lord let it happen right to my face.
Yeah.
It's like I would cry myself to sleep, you know, and my husband had seen me, with all of my color that had never happened, and he went through my transformation from beginning all the way until I turned this color, So it took me 10 years. And if it wasn't for the support group, I wouldn't be talking to you today.
What's the name of the support group? And then we want to know what you meant by that last statement. That's an ominous statement.
Yeah. We started off with we're Be Strong. We started out with we're the vitiligo support group of the Southeast Michigan, um, uh, which here in Detroit, but
Yeah.
we made it shorter. So we're Be Strong Detroit
Okay.
vitiligo support group, and a newscaster along with myself. We both had the same dermatologist, which was Dr. Henry Lim of Henry Ford Hospital, and he was head of dermatology. And he asked Lee if he would, tell his story and if he would start a support group, and then he asked me if he did that, would I come? And I told him, yes, I would. And when I went to see the room that was standing room only,
Wow.
because that's how many people had came out that had vitiligo,
Wow.
that were ashamed. I would walk with my head down. I wouldn't look anyone in their face. You know, um, you go through so much scrutiny, and you would think that it would be children.
Yes.
Children can be rude too.
Yeah.
When you have adults, one main, and I will hold that till I go to my grave. I was in a Walmart with my husband, and we would do our natural thing that we would do on Saturdays, because that would be our day, our weekend. We would start off getting, go to Walmart, get all what we need to get, do our laundry, and then pick out what we're going to do for the evening.
Yes.
This particular day, I didn't get a chance to put on my makeup, and I had started wearing Dermablend to cover me up. And I started getting really good where I can cover. I used to have to buy 2 jars of Dermablend to blend them to match my color,
Right.
because I still had tags on my face, but not that many. And he was like, we don't have time. Come on, there's nothing wrong with you. And I would always say, but you don't have to wear this. You don't have to be, and, for people to make fun of you. And he was like, babe, there's nothing wrong with you. You're beautiful. And, but I couldn't see that I was beautiful. I
Yeah.
see all the flaws.
Right.
But this particular day on a Saturday, and if you know a Saturday on Walmart, it's packed.
Busy.
And he was down the aisle getting some toiletries, and I was standing in the main aisle, but I was leaning on the basket looking down at him. And I just happened to just turn. And when I turned, it was 2 Caucasian women that stopped at my basket and screamed to the loudest of their pitch.
What?
And all I could do was just stand there and hold the basket. But I didn't want anybody to see that I was weak because I wanted to cry. So I'm holding it. And my husband, when he came, my face tells everything.
Right.
And he'd seen my face and he said, "What's wrong?" And I'm shaking my head, because if I was to say something, you would see how weak I was, because then I was going to cry.
Right.
And I didn't want to talk, and I kept shaking my head like, I couldn't say, "Don't ask me," because if I said it, it was going to flood.
Sure.
And so he said, "What's wrong?" And I kept shaking my head. And he said, "Put this ish in this, let's go." And we walked out. And when we walked out, he said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Two women." I told him what had happened. And the tears just flood. And he said, "Where are they? Show me who they are."
Wow.
And I said, "I couldn't tell you who they were. I just know that it was two white women. I couldn't tell you." But I got all my tears out, and I cried. And he said, "You want to go? You ready to go? We could go home. We don't have to do this. We could go home." And I said, "No, I'm okay. We could go back in." But I was able to cry. We went back in. We got what we had to get. And we went on. And I was but that day, that was a day of humiliation I had never, ever experienced or ever felt.
Wow.
But when we talked, when we got to, and we had our first vitiligo meeting, and we started to talk, and what helped me through it, all those people in that room, we all had the same testaments.
Wow.
All. And someone understood how I felt, what I was going through, because we all understood, we all had the same. May have been a different scenario, but it was the same
Experience.
And we can relate, know. And because of that, and I start seeing where people were hurting, and not only adults, but we had so many children that were coming up with vitiligo, and that was being bullied, and I didn't want that for anyone, because I knew how I felt.
Yeah.
So because of that, and because of the love that was within our support group, and because of everything that we were going through, and we were the same, I started to heal mentally and somewhat physically.
Yes.
So, if it wasn't for the support group, that's why I say I wouldn't be talking to you today, because if it wasn't for that and the persistence to speak on how people make us feel and how society wants to put a stigma on what's considered to be beautiful.
Yes.
And people that I met, you didn't look at their outward exterior.
Yes.
You heard them and you felt them. And that's who you started to love. And that's how I started to speak on behalf of us.
Well, I will be really honest, Mechelle. The first time I met you, well, first, it's obviously my lack of knowledge, but I didn't see your neck. You were wearing something that didn't show your neck. So I thought that was your color. I mean, well, it is now, but
now,
I didn't know, because it's come off like perfectly, actually, and I think the first time I actually saw the pigmentation on your neck was, I think, one of our phone conversations. Prior to that, I hadn't seen it, but I was privileged to actually hear you speak in Chicago. When you were speaking, you moved me, because everything you were saying, whether it had to do with vitiligo or it had to do with, young people being unsure of themselves, or it had to do with a middle-aged woman, that was finding herself for the first time after having a substantial break, in real communication. It was as though you were speaking to everybody from a heart level, not necessarily what you were imparting, which was knowledge about, your platform. It had more to do with you as a person. And that is what moved me. That is what made me say, oh my gosh, I really need to get to know this woman. I really need to understand more about her, because the subject matter, obviously I didn't know much about it. I knew it existed. I mean, now it's more prevalent. People are coming out more.
Yeah.
But
I think one reason is because they see us and they're accepting, I really give honor to Tyra Banks. Because if it wasn't for her doing that for Chantel Brown, and once she did that, even though people be scrutinized and they criticized her and bullied her so badly when you hear her talk, but because of Tyra Banks seeing it, and then the model industry considered it to be beautiful, and then they said it's art. Look at the art of it. So if it wasn't for her doing that, I don't think, and I say everything, not some things, everything happens for a reason.
Yes, it does.
And so for that, I think it you still have ignorance in the world.
Yeah.
And people will be that way. But for the majority of it, it took a whole nother swing on what society considered to be beautiful. And so it was more acceptance. And I think still to this day, people recognizes it, but they still don't know what it is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it takes some time, but yes, the model industry definitely embraced it. Because I think the young lady, there's another young lady, is her name Winnie, I think, something like that.
No, that's Chantel Brown.
Her that is
Chantel Brown. They call her Winnie Hilo.
Okay, because I believe her background is Jamaican. I believe she's Caribbean. I think that's what her background is. And that's my background. And a lot of Caribbean people, and this is a blanket statement though, there's a lot of things we just don't really speak about. We sweep under the rug and we keep it going. And I was really, really happily surprised of how she was embraced, and the fact that she is beautiful. I mean, she is beautiful, but it's a real condition. If somebody were to want to get in touch with you, want to talk to you, or want to join your group, because you said that it's Be Strong Detroit. So I'm thinking that it's Be Strong various cities, or?
It's B as in Victor. So instead of saying vitiligo, it's the Be Strong community. I'm gonna put my card up and then they can see it. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. So we have all of those entities. And we have them, we're all over. We have the Global Vitiligo Foundation. And if you go to the Global Vitiligo Foundation, it will lead you to all of our streams for Texas, for Africa. We just last week, we were on with some patients or some people with vitiligo in Guyana.
Oh.
Yeah, so Moses, he's here studying, and he's up under us as far as learning and working in the medical field. So he's working up under Dr. Rich and learning more. So he's an intern, but he's from Africa. And so Ogo Ogo is from Nigeria, and I've met her on various occasions. So she's been here in the States with us, and she's been to some of our vitiligo groups. Our conferences.
Yeah.
So we try to do as much as we can to venture out for everyone to see and to hear us. So we do as much as we can, and it's starting to take flight. So I'm trying to get this card. So we do so many things, and it's growing so rapidly till it's just amazing. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to even open up to be able to say anything on behalf of vitiligo and educate, motivate people. I'm sorry. All of my stuff I was going to be.
Okay. Okay, so this is your card for the foundation.
Yes.
Okay. Could you read the yeah. Could you please read the email, and could you
Okay.
read the phone number?
Yes. Okay, so our email is www.vitiligostrong.com. And we have a 1-800 number.
Yes.
And on that 1-800 number is the board, which would be myself, Stephen Taylor, Kim Boyd, and Lee Thomas. Okay. So the number there would be 833 Be Strong. So it would be 833-87-87-664.
Okay, we'll make sure to pin that in the body of this interview, so people can reach out if need be, or they could get information. Now, you go around and you speak, correct? You're a speaker for this as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so if someone were to want you to come to a school or a business or any kind of foundation, how would they get in touch with you, Mechelle?
You can reach me at mmickeydo@yahoo.com. That's my email. I also have a page, the Prolific Me. I apologize. The Prolific Me uploaded.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you can also go on my page. I try to make sure that it's enough information and try to keep it updated so that you can see various groups, where you can be able to reach anyone that you would need to reach in your city, your state, your country. We even had one of the gentlemen came all the way from Cuba.
Wow.
He saw that we were having our vitiligo conference, and he came from Cuba to Detroit, Michigan. He had never been in the States.
Wow.
And he came all the way to Detroit for our conference. And he was amazing. And it's just amazing that when people get there and you see that it's so many that's like you, that you don't have to worry about covering up. You don't have to worry about hiding, and it's been so many, especially women. We cover up because, you want to be, we're vain.
Right.
We want to look beautiful,
right.
But when you're scarred, but when so many have come and they were like, I didn't ever think that I could be in a place without my makeup and be accepted, and it's just the embracement and the love. And I think once they leave there and know that they have a support system and someone that understands exactly like them, they can go out and they can face the world. But I tell everyone, it starts with self first.
I love that, and I feel like that is a good place for us to conclude our interview. I didn't say very much this interview because I feel that this is a really important topic, and I feel that it has to get out. and you're so eloquent when you discuss it, and so very compassionate.
Mm.
So it comes through, and people need to understand that you're out there and your counterparts are out there. And if they need you, they can reach you. So I will be putting all of the contact information in the body of this interview. And I would like to extend to you this platform again, hopefully for a part 2 of where we can discuss what it looks like in your mind when you
Mm.
have this. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Michelle.
I appreciate it. The platform, and just to be open and just to be receptive of wanting to know. I appreciate you, because without you, there would be no way to get education. There would be no way to advocate, you know? So you're opening up the forum for us to be able to spread awareness, because if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for, you know, other ones that want to understand and hear, it would still be a silence.
Right.
So
And
thank
you, and
you.
you're with the Mona Lisa.
Yes, Mona Lisa
Yes.
Lyrics and Boss Entertainment. And if it wasn't for them opening up, that's why I say, you know, everything happens for a reason. We don't know when it's supposed to happen, how it's supposed to happen. But if it wasn't for that, I would have never had the pleasure of meeting you. So I'm
Or I
grateful.
you.
I'm grateful.
Yes. Me too. Me too. So thank you so much. And we're going to have to do a part 2. How's
Okay.
that?
Okay. I'm
Okay.
willing.
Okay. Well, I want to thank my audience for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share. And if you have any topics that you would like to have discussed on my platform, please drop a little note to me, and I'll be more than happy to do some research and get some people on here to discuss those issues. Thanks again.